Well, preparing for the next turn's 100% online classes is really just like starting a new adventure. Wherein before you had a certain set of tasks to do. Now everything has been appended, and the last thing you want is to have a series of weeks where it's never-ending Zoom screens. Well, thank God I discovered OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. It's a free software, but it's a lifesaver. So I don't know. It's these are extraordinary times, and a lot has changed ever since the middle of March, including the experience of learning. And as I mentioned, this term is going to be quite a quest. And it's going to be crazy for both the teacher and the students. Before, the preparing for a term was very precise. You stated your course objectives, and you had a list of by the end of the term, the student should be able to do this or that. And then you outline the flow of the weeks, and you determine what the targets are per week. And you talk about how the course will run, the activities and the house rules, and the requirements for the final grades. And then you come together face to face each week. Face to face. That's the, that's the biggest difference from pre-pandemic teaching to now, because that means everything has to be social distance, and teaching is going to be 100% online. And that brings up a whole Pandora's box of issues. So you need to ask questions like, are you prepared equipment-wise to handle online learning? Or, especially in the case of the Philippines, is your Wi-Fi strong enough to sustain virtual meetings? And another question would be, are you basically tech savvy, or are you a technophobe? And last but not the least, are you emotionally, psychologically, intellectually, spiritually, psychically prepared to just do something or get on with your life? The above questions apply to both the teacher and the learner. And mas mahirap lang ng konti para sa teacher, because aside from, venturing out into a new territory, you have the student on your back. Well, the nice thing is, most of the schools I teach in, namely the University of the Philippines, LaSalle, Maine, and College of St. Benilde, they've been preparing for this months ago. And they themselves are very excited about how these new, systems are how it's going to take place. Let me just share with you some of the ideas I got from the University of the Philippines online learning course. And I didn't finish it, but I really went through the site and looked at all the resources. It's a very comprehensive course, and basically it's a 6-step thing. For example, the first step is to know the learner, and not just the learner, but the learning context. And that includes, as I mentioned ngayon, kung tech-savvy ba yung bata, kung may gamit siya or not. So it's like doing a strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats on your potential students. And the second is that you start to organize your content, but this time thinking that it's going to be presented online. And even if you have 14 weeks or 16 weeks, you don't have the luxury of really 3-hour sessions per week. So that means you have to zero in on the essentials. Just because something might be interesting, just because you love the sound of your voice, hindi na pwede yun eh. You really have to design something that's going to be streamlined, and the kids or the students are really just going to be able to make the best of it. The third is that you now have to look for resources, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are so many online resources that you can do. It's a bit more difficult when you're a film teacher, because you you depend a lot on films that you need to show and the clips that you have to get. And I myself, lately, I've been having a bit of a difficulty with getting copyright permissions for some of the clips I show. And sometimes it's a win thing, and sometimes the copyright owners don't want to bend. And once you have that listing, you now design the learning activities. And as I mentioned, iba na yung laro eh. It's not as if you're in a classroom and you can tell the class to divide into groups and you can give a quiz or something like that. So that means you meet once a week. And again, dito pumasok yung idea na are your classes going to be synchronous? That means everybody meets at a certain time together. Or are you going to be more flexible and have asynchronous meetings? So, and then you really need to define online tools. Like Moodle is an excellent thing. I used to snub that, but now I think I need to be able to take advantage of it. And stage 5 is you plan the assessment of learning. Again, before you enter a classroom, you give your lecture, you ask questions. A teacher has this intuition that some learners are into the lecture and some are just not listening, or it's just beyond them, or they're having their own problems. In this case, you're doing your class virtually. There's no such thing as that sense of intuition. So you have to design a new way of being able to test kung nakuha ba ng mga tao yung talagang sinishare mo. So it has to be appropriate to the activities you created. And as much as possible, you cannot depend on traditional means of assessing if they got it. And finally, once you put everything out there, you have to start writing in the course guide itself. And that's what the Faculty of UP is doing now, because classes are about to start in 12 days. So we are looking at course packets and putting down everything so that when you meet with your students online, they can have lists of what's going to be needed per session. So anyway, let's see what's going to happen when the nice thing about teaching in 3 schools is you're able to see how the schools that started early are doing. I was able to eavesdrop on my nephew, whose classes, LaSalle Maine started their courses as early as May. And it was very interesting because the teacher that conducted the class, I thought was an excellent teacher, because the first thing she said was that we don't have to make sagad the 3-hour sessions that we do. And what that tells me is that the teacher themselves are in a state of wonder concerning how they're going to run this whole course. And I think that's it. You learn along with your students, and you have to just be able to do your best. Well, that's it. I'm trying to prepare. I just started learning OBS a couple of days ago. I've been doing my dry runs and uploading it. I tried live streaming for the first time in my whole 66 years on the planet. I now have a YouTube channel, which I hated because I hate those fucking influencers. And I just testing out this whole new field. I've learned a couple of things. Let me share to you just some bits. You have to do everything in bite-sized parcels. Unlike before, you could give your teaching area for 3 straight hours, and then your students stand up in spontaneous applause after you do your lecture. Now you don't have that luxury. You're staring at the screen, and there's so many faces on the screen. So you have to find a way that these people, they may be distracted, they may be concentrated, would be able to just get the gist of the goals for that session. So in practical terms, all my teaching materials, I think I have to limit to something between 5 and 10 minutes to 10 minutes per recorded session. Of course, you can record 3 5 to 10 minuters and spread it out during the session. Second is you have to decide which which of the topics are going to be streamed or pre-recorded. In my case, and since I'm teaching film, I just realized that I have to do both. I have to record some parts, and when I do my discussions, I'd rather have it live. Well, as I mentioned, I'm beginning to experience this problem with copyright. I tried uploading this lecture I gave on the production design of horror films yesterday, and it was heavy with clips from 5 different Dracula films. And YouTube just refused to put it up because it says that I don't have the copyright. So then you have to work on that. And how do you do this? Your classes are not synchronous. Not everybody is going to be there each session. That's why you try to record the session so they can come to it and listen to it at their own convenience. Well, I don't know how that's going to pan out, but maybe, hopefully, the schools can help me with that. But I guess, and then you have to figure out also the last thing is that you're not alone in this. Inside your home, you have nephews and nieces who are conducting their work from the home base, and you have nephews and nieces who are also doing their classes online. So hindi ka lang nag-iisa. That means the bandwidth is going to get so crazy. So all of these things. I just want to get this off my chest. I just want to tell you that it's scary, but I'm more excited than scared. And well, starting September 12th for UP, let the games begin.